Now, we have a lot to get through with my next guest, so let's waste no time. It's U.S. Report regular and former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, who is also going to be right here on set with me on this stage next week. You're not going to want to miss that. Mick, it seems lawsuits are raining down on Donald Trump at the moment, the latest being from New York Attorney General Letitia James for fraud. Now, Trump says that this is a witch hunt, and frankly, given that Letitia James campaigned for office on a Get Trump platform, I think he might have a point. Mick Mulvaney, what do you think?
Yeah, James, thanks. Always looking forward to being there next week, not only for your show, but for CPAC. It'll be a good time. Look, I don't think folks in Australia may understand that our attorney generals here are elected state by state. And this woman, Letitia James, ran saying she was going to get Donald Trump. She's also up for re-election in about 6 weeks in New York as the Democrat candidate. So it's easy to see how the Trump folks could look at this and say it's got to be politically motivated. Interestingly enough, there's no victims here. She said that Donald Trump lied about a bunch of stuff in order to get favorable terms on loans, and then ignores the fact that not only did he pay the loans back, paid some of them back early. So it's really hard to sort of make the argument that this is anything but a political hit job by a Democrat candidate for office in New York who faces the voters in 6 weeks in a state that Joe Biden won by 20 points. So, yeah, it's been a bizarre couple of weeks here, and just got even more strange with the filing of this lawsuit yesterday.
And how does this then all play into the 2024 equation? I mean, everybody sort of seems to be thinking now that Donald Trump might have too much baggage to take forward with him, especially now that we see that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has been really getting on the front foot. How did his great immigration play with Martha's Vineyard and sending these migrants to the heart of, lefty progressive sanctuary city America go over? And is this increasing his chances as being the guy in 2024?
Well, it's certainly elevating Ron's persona and his personality, his presence. Ron's a really good governor. I think I know Ron, he's a friend of mine. We served in Congress together. And his attitude is, look, certain states, Florida, Texas, California, are bearing an unreasonable amount of burden from all of these open border policies. So why not send these folks to other states, including Massachusetts and Martha's Vineyard? He's being accused now of trafficking, human trafficking. There's folks talking about bringing criminal charges against him, ignoring the fact that in the recent past, the federal government has actually done the same thing, take migrants from Texas and ship them to New York and to North Carolina. So it's going over really well. I think it's drawing attention to the border crisis in a way that people can understand, which is these states should not bear all the burden. If the country's going to have an open border policy, the whole country should pay the price for that, including Massachusetts and New York.
And I mean, Mick, doesn't it just get down to the hypocrisy of the progressive left? I mean, we've seen over the last weeks and months, and years even since Trump came in, mayors and governors in Democrat parts of the country say, we're sanctuary cities, we won't enforce federal immigration law, we won't do this, we won't do that, everybody's welcome. Well, now, I mean, it's great to see conservatives finally playing them at their own game, don't you think?
It's even a little bit more perverse than that. There's a lot of Democrats who think that, well, we're never going to win in Florida again. We're never going to win in Texas again unless we can get a bunch of Hispanic voters in there who vote Democratic. And the irony there is that for Texas, for example, I think we've just moved to the point where Hispanics make up the largest demographic group. They're actually voting Republican in larger and larger numbers with each election. So, yeah, it's American politics at its very worst. It's the Democrats, having an open border policy, thinking it's good for them politically. It's nice to see folks like DeSantis not just fighting back, but fighting back in a way that most folks can understand and a lot of folks agree with.
It's absolutely fascinating to me because the poll numbers do indicate that, especially when it comes to approval of Joe Biden has a huge problem with Hispanic Americans who have basically rejected the progressive left agenda around, wokeness and all sorts of things happening in the schools. So this is going to be some pretty interesting times. I'm looking forward next week to talking to you about all of this down here next week and seeing you at CPAC next weekend. So you'll be here at the U.S. Report. We can't wait. Thank you so much.